Hello, year 11. I hope things are going well. So we are going to continue kind of doing some review stuff since we've kind of finished a chunk of um, micro, and I don't really want to move into macro just yet, kind of see how things play out. So we're going to go through chapter 3 today. We've already done 1 and 2. Before we do that, I kind of wanted to quickly show you the tracker of classes and let you know where you're at. I will screenshot this and send it. It would help if I actually shared my screen with you to show it to you. It'd be helpful, wouldn't it? Okay, so you can actually see my screen now. So this is kind of where we're at. Some of you are doing better than others, obviously. So yesterday was a review day. We've got class today and class tomorrow. So I think what I might do is I'd like to be able to go over your papers. I've been waiting and waiting for you guys to get those in. Not everyone has, and there's only so much I can do. I can only wait so long. What I'll do is this class tomorrow for Friday will be feedback video for past paper 1. So that means that Thursday is the last day to get this in. So right now, excuse me, right now, currently I have Gary, Haley, and Brad. I think one of you might have sent me something. I have to double check. But as of right now, this is what I currently have. That means that, excuse me, that means that those of you who haven't turned in have until Thursday, which is when I will film the next video, and to get it to me. After that, it's missing. It can't be turned in, and I will go over it. So please get that in as soon as you can, so that I can give you feedback and go over it together. So for those of you who have sent it and haven't gotten feedback, I'll give that to you before I do the video. But yeah, so get that paper in as soon as possible. Also, obviously, everything else as well. Okay, so make sure you're taking notes. I said I would ask for your notes on some of this stuff as we go through. This is a pretty important chapter because it kind of brings everything together, and it's a really big jumping point into the rest of this stuff that we cover in micro, as you know. So having a good grasp of this helps you understand everything else. So if you're forgetful on this, then you might struggle with market failure, for example, or taxation, because it's all linked together. So equilibrium, really important definition, one that could easily show up that you might want to talk about in your IA, or something that you might want to talk about in your paper 1s. So really important. Equilibrium is the point in which your supply and demand are going to intersect. It's a point of lack of involvement. It's actually a point that actually continues to move. Equilibrium never is really set. We talk about it in a set way, but in reality, it's actually always fluctuating and always changing because everything changes. In a free market, everything is always moving and changing. So equilibrium is always moving, but we talk about it at a specific point. So when we're looking at it, it's one point, one set point. But in reality, it does always move, and it's always evolving and always changing. But we talk about it ceteris paribus, all things equal. So something isn't changing. But In reality, it's always fluctuating. Khan Academy video, you can watch that on your own if you'd like. Khan does do a pretty good job with this stuff, so if you're wanting that, it's available, but I won't do it here. Excess supply, excess demand, really important topics, especially for the SL students. So excess supply happens above equilibrium, and it's a point where suppliers are supplying a higher quantity than demanders are demanding. So in this situation, zoom in here. In this situation, you can see that there is a supply at Q2 and a demand at Q1. So there's going to be an excess supply from Q1 to Q2. And then in this situation here, excess demand, we've got a demand at Q4 and a quantity supplied at Q3. So there's going to be a gap there from Q3 to Q4, and that's going to be the excess demand amount. So I think hopefully we're familiar with that. So what's going to happen over time is that there is going to be something is going to change to fix this excess demand or excess supply. Some non-price determinant is going to result in this eventually changing. If the market is allowed to change, it will change to flow into a new equilibrium. So there's going to be a shift as a result of this. So you should have talked partially about this in your answer to the question that I gave you about like the market for masks due to the coronavirus. So you should have talked about some sort of excess demand situation, and then how do you fix that? We'll go over that once a couple more of you have turned it in. Only a few of you have, and I've given you feedback for those of you who did turn it in already. But if you don't know where to start on that question, talking about excess demand and why it's happening would be one way to potentially talk about that. So these are all different types of practice. If you need this practice, you could go ahead and do it. I won't do it here because we've done it before. You should already have it in your notes, but it is here. I'll stop on each page here so that you can look at it and stop and practice if you need it. So this is dealing with FOP, cost of production. Sorry, not FOP, cost of production for motorcycles. You could stay here and do this one if you'd like. Improvements in technologies in textile industry. And then manufacturers in the sportwear industry have decided to raise prices on training shoes. So graph these. If you want me to take a look at them, send me a picture of them and I will give you some feedback. So yeah, just let me know if you want me to take a look at this. Okay, price mechanism. There's lots of questions about price mechanism. It's one that people tend to forget about, actually. People will say, like, you'll see question that says, like, what is the role of a price mechanism in a free market? And it just, people don't answer. So the price mechanism is what causes the market to reach equilibrium and allocate resources. So this is done because producers and consumers have the ability to demand and supply at whatever level they want. So the price is kind of the way in which there's a control of that. So when prices go up, there's more of an incentive for suppliers to supply. And then when prices go down, there's less of an incentive for suppliers to supply, and there's more of a demand. So the price mechanism is what's causing that move to equilibrium. We also sometimes call it the invisible hand. And in theory, this works if there's no government involvement. So this should be something we're familiar with as well. This idea of consumer and producer surplus, and then if we add it all together, it ends up being called what's called community surplus. Um, make sure you're solid on these definitions. They could be ones that show up a lot. I think HLs would see them more than SLs, but it is an SL topic, so it could easily show up on a paper one, or be something that you include in a paper one, or include in your IA. But it does tend to show up more in HL tests than it does on SL tests. So yeah, make sure you're comfortable with these definitions. Um, Again, actually, a lot of this stuff. So we kind of introduce it in 3, but we only really start to use it in market failure. So actually, these are a lot of these terms here, a lot of stuff that you end up seeing in market failure. Allocative efficiency is a really important topic, not because you get like a specific question on it, but because you would include it in a lot of your answers. So if you're looking to push beyond a 4 in econ, then you'd need to be using a lot of these vocabulary terms that you might not specifically be asked about, but you would be asked to include um, in your answers. So allocative efficiency is when the market is in equilibrium. There's no external forces pushing on the equilibrium, and it's a point at which we're socially efficient. Resources are allocated in the best way for society. So if you tend to talk about this when you're talking about market failure, so the lack of allocative efficiency. So if you are writing about that for your IA, for example, you might want to think about potentially bringing this idea into your IA to show some of your economic knowledge and push up that grade on your IA a little bit. A lot of these terms could actually be brought into the IA depending on which topic you're talking about. So that's actually it for today. We could have actually moved in the taxes. This went pretty quickly, but I won't do that. I'll just have a short video for today. You guys are behind. Most of you are. So I won't push you too hard on this. So yeah, we'll end it there. What I asked for homework for today is to actually just send me an email or WeChat message, just letting me know you watched this. So just say that you watched it so that I know. Obviously, make sure you're taking notes, but I'll check those later. So yeah, just give me your only homework for this is to let me know that you've watched it, and to continue working on things that you need to work on. And if you have any questions or need anything, please let me know. So yeah, have a good one, and I will see you guys next time.